Deep in the heart of Whispering Pines National Park, a hidden trail camera was set up to monitor wildlife. But what it captured one night left the entire world stunned. Forest Ranger Tom Reynolds had seen a lot in his 15 years working at Whispering Pines National Park. Lost hikers, wild animals behaving oddly, and the occasional group of college kids pulling off reckless stunts. But nothing prepared him for what he saw on the footage from trail camera number 7. He had just sat down with a fresh cup of coffee in the park's ranger station when he absent-mindedly pulled up the latest footage from the motion-activated cameras installed deep in the forest. His job required him to check for wildlife movement, track the health of the ecosystem, and occasionally assist with missing persons cases. Most of the time it was nothing unusual: deer grazing, owls swooping through the trees, or the occasional black bear sniffing around a campsite. But today was different. As he watched, his grip on the coffee mug loosened. His heart pounded. His breath caught in his throat. He leaned forward, eyes locked on the screen. A shadowy figure was moving through the dense woods. But it wasn't an animal, and it wasn't a typical lost hiker either. "Hey, Julie, Steve, you guys need to see this right now," Tom called out, his voice cracking with disbelief. His fellow rangers hurried over, their expressions quickly shifting from curiosity to confusion as they watched the footage. "That can't be real," Julie whispered. "No way." But there it was, clear as day. A figure, barely clothed and pale, walking with an eerie, unnatural calm down a remote forest path. The timestamp read July 15th, when temperatures in this thick forest dropped to the mid-40s overnight. No normal person could have survived that long in these conditions, let alone walk barefoot through the rugged wilderness. Tom's mind raced as he played the footage again. The figure's movements were strange, not stumbling, not hurried, but deliberate, as if they knew exactly where they were going. But that didn't make sense. Nobody wandered Whispering Pines at night without gear, and certainly not barefoot. Tom had installed the trail cameras just 2 weeks earlier after a string of unusual incidents in the park. Equipment had gone missing from maintenance sheds. Campsites were found disturbed, with no sign of animal interference, and multiple hikers reported hearing strange singing voices deep in the woods where no trails existed. "Something's not right out there," he insisted during the budget meeting. "And I intend to find out what it is before someone gets hurt." "Maybe it's someone pulling a prank," Steve suggested, though even he didn't sound convinced. "What am I looking at?" Julie asked, squinting at the screen as she adjusted her glasses. As the newest ranger on the team, she'd been skeptical of Tom's concerns, writing them off as the overactive imagination of a man who'd spent too many years alone in the forest. "That's what I'm trying to figure out," Tom replied, ruining the footage and playing it again. Tom shook his head. "Camera number 7 is 3 miles from the nearest access point, in a restricted area. No trails lead there. And look at the way they're moving. It's like they don't belong here." Then the figure stopped. Slowly, it turned toward the camera. The rangers recoiled instinctively. The face staring back at them was gaunt, hollow-eyed, with an unnatural glow in its eyes. It wasn't the face of someone merely lost. There was something else, something that sent a chill down Tom's spine. The footage ended. The rangers sat in stunned silence, the station eerily quiet, except for the distant sound of wind rustling the trees outside. 3 months ago, the name Emma Larson had been on every news channel. A renowned wildlife photographer, she had ventured into Whispering Pines alone for a week-long expedition, planning to capture the untouched beauty of the park. She never came back. A massive search and rescue effort had been launched. Helicopters, tracking dogs, and dozens of volunteers combed through miles of dense forest. They found her campsite, her camera bag, even her water bottles, emptied, discarded, but no sign of Emma. Eventually, after 6 grueling weeks, the search was called off. Officials presumed she had succumbed to the elements or had fallen victim to a hidden ravine. Her family mourned. The world moved on, But now, here she was, or at least something that looked like her. Tom and his team immediately escalated the situation to their supervisor. Park Director Margaret Ava arrived within the hour. After reviewing the footage, she made a decision. "We're going out there," she said. By nightfall, a team of 5 rangers set out toward the coordinates where camera number 7 had captured the footage. Armed with flashlights, emergency gear, and radios, they moved cautiously through the darkened forest, guided only by the GPS signal leading them to the trail camera's exact location. For hours, they found nothing. No footprints, no disturbed vegetation, nothing to indicate human presence. It was as if whoever had appeared on the footage had simply vanished into thin air. Just as dusk was approaching, and they were preparing to call it a night, Tom spotted something fluttering from a low branch about 50 yards ahead, a piece of fabric. He knelt down and picked it up. Pink. Heart-pounding, Tom approached slowly. It was a scrap of fabric, the same shade of pink as the bikini Emma had been wearing in the footage. As they moved forward, they began finding more signs: broken twigs, disturbed ground, and even what appeared to be bare footprints in a patch of mud. "She's moving in circles," Steve observed after they'd been following the trail for an hour. "Look, we've passed this fallen tree before." He was right. Emma wasn't moving purposefully through the forest. She was wandering aimlessly, likely lost and confused. "Tom," Julie called out, her voice barely above a whisper. "I think I hear something." Everyone fell silent. A faint, rhythmic sound carried through the trees, humming. The hairs on Tom's arms stood on end. The humming was soft, almost melodic, but eerie in its off-kilter tune. It was coming from somewhere just beyond the tree line. "Emma," Tom called out cautiously. "Emma Larson, if you can hear me, we're here to help." The humming stopped. A long silence followed. Then, rustling from the darkness, a figure slowly emerged, stepping into the beam of Tom's flashlight. Emma. But there was something else behind her. Deeper in the woods, the rangers glimpsed movement, a shape barely distinguishable in the shadows. Something watching. And just as quickly as they saw it, it was gone. The sight of her made Tom's heart sink. She was barely recognizable. Her body was pale and frail. Her once bright eyes, dull and unfocused. Her skin was covered in scratches and bruises. Her hair was matted into a wild tangle, filled with twigs and leaves. She wore the same pink bikini, but it was torn, dirt-streaked, barely holding together. "Emma." Tom took a cautious step forward. "It's okay. You're safe now." Her head tilted slightly, as if struggling to understand his words. Then she spoke, her voice thin and fragile. "The forest didn't want me to leave." As the team led Emma out of the forest, Tom glanced over his shoulder one last time. A gust of wind sent the trees swaying, their shadows shifting. And for a moment, just a moment, he thought he saw it again. Watching, waiting, a figure, just out of focus, half hidden between the trees. It didn't move like an animal, nor did it stand like a person. It was something else entirely, something that sent a deep, instinctual fear crawling up Tom's spine. He blinked, and it was gone. But the feeling remained. Emma flinched suddenly, as if she too had sensed something. Her hand gripped Tom's sleeve with surprising strength. "It's still here," she whispered, barely audible. "It doesn't like that I'm leaving." Tom swallowed hard, pushing forward. "You're safe now," he reassured her, but his own voice didn't sound convincing. When they finally reached the ranger station, Emma hesitated at the threshold. She glanced back at the dark woods one last time, her expression unreadable. "It let me go," she murmured, "but it won't forget." Tom didn't ask what she meant. He didn't want to know. Julie, visibly shaken, whispered to Tom, "We need to get her out of here. Now." Tom nodded. "Emma, we're going to take you back. You've been missing for 3 months, and your family is waiting for you." Emma hesitated. Then, slowly, she took a step forward, then another. And just like that, she allowed herself to be led away from the darkness that had held her captive for months. But as they drove away from the park, Tom felt the weight of something unseen pressing down on him. His hands gripped the steering wheel tighter. Julie, seated beside him, shifted uncomfortably. "You feel it too, don't you?" she murmured. Tom didn't answer right away. He just exhaled and kept his eyes on the road behind them. Whispering Pines stood still, silent and waiting. Everyone was stunned when they heard about Emma Larson's miraculous reappearance. The famous photographer, who had vanished without a trace, presumed dead in the wilderness, had somehow survived 3 months alone in one of the most challenging environments in the region. Tom visited Emma in the hospital 3 days after her rescue. The medical team had treated her for severe malnutrition, dehydration, multiple infections, and a host of parasitic infestations. Psychologists had diagnosed her with extreme post-traumatic stress disorder and what they termed environmental psychosis, a state of mind caused by prolonged isolation in extreme conditions. But some things couldn't be explained. Her feet should have been destroyed, one doctor noted, yet she has no significant injuries from walking barefoot in the wilderness for so long. And the scratches on her body, they don't match animal attacks. It's as if she's been running through something dense, like thorns that move. But she's doing better physically, Dr. James told Tom before he entered Emma's room. Mentally, it's going to be a long road. From what we can piece together, she got lost during her photography expedition, suffered a fall that likely caused a concussion, and then couldn't find her way back to the trails. After several days of wandering and increasing panic, her mind began to adapt in unhealthy ways. When Tom entered the room, he was surprised to see a dramatically different Emma from the wild creature they'd found in the forest. Her hair had been cut and cleaned, her wounds properly dressed, and while she was still thin, color had returned to her face. Most notably, her eyes, while tired, were clear and focused. "You're the ranger who found me," she said softly as Tom sat beside her bed. "Right," Tom nodded, encouraged by her lucidity. "How are you feeling, Emma?" "Like I've been hit by a truck," she said with a weak smile. "The doctors say I've been gone for 3 months. Is that really true?" "Yes," Tom confirmed gently. "Your disappearance was national news. There were search parties for weeks." Emma closed her eyes, tears slipping down her cheeks. "I remember setting out that morning to photograph the sunrise over Eagle Ridge. I had all my gear, my maps, everything I needed. Then it gets foggy. I remember falling, hitting my head, wandering, becoming hopelessly lost, and then the whispers. The eyes in the dark," she murmured. "They watched me sleep. They told me I belonged to the forest now." That night, unable to shake the unease lingering in his mind, Tom sat alone in the ranger station and pulled up the latest video feed from trail camera number 7. The screen flickered, the grainy footage playing back in eerie silence. Then his breath caught in his throat. There, at the tree line, a figure stood, just beyond the reach of the camera's infrared glow. At first, it was barely distinguishable from the shadows. But as the seconds passed, it shifted, stepping closer. Tom's heart pounded. The figure was unmistakable. It was Emma. But that was impossible. Emma was in the hospital. He had seen her leave, had driven her away from these very woods. And yet, there she was, her form blurred slightly at the edges, her head tilting slowly, unnaturally. Then, just as before, she turned directly toward the camera. A chill crawled up Tom's spine as the screen glitched. For a fraction of a second, another shape flickered behind her, taller, darker, its form indistinct but unmistakably there. And then, blackness. The feed cut out. Tom sat frozen, unable to move, his pulse hammering in his ears. He replayed the footage, but the file was corrupted. The final frame before the blackout lingered on screen. Emma's hollow, vacant eyes staring directly into the lens. The next morning, he called the hospital. Emma was still there. She hadn't moved. Tom never spoke about what he saw, but when the footage leaked, the world couldn't look away. News outlets, investigators, and online communities dissected every second of the video, searching for answers. Experts scrambled to explain it. Glitches, mistaken identity, a hoax. But no theory could fully account for what trail camera number 7 had captured. This story has stunned the world. And to this day, no one knows the truth about what happened to Emma Larson in those lost months. Trail camera number 7 remains in place, and sometimes, just sometimes, the feed glitches, revealing glimpses of movement at the edge of the forest. Something standing at the tree line, watching, waiting.